And the Bucs hope that this will be their first victory ever.
We have a great area, a growing area, in Tampa, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakeland, and Winnehaven, and even Wachoo. Over 2 million fans, and it's the fastest growing area in the United States.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, live from Tampa Stadium. For the first time ever in a regular season, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers entered the stadium with numbers in both the win and loss columns. The Buccaneers came onto the field to a wild standing ovation from the some 60,000-plus fans at Tampa Stadium. They did not introduce any players individually. The PA announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Welcome to San Diego, California, Super Bowl 37. It is Tampa Bay versus the Oakland Raiders.
Third down, 18, dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, throws up with the heads intercepted at the 40, Derek Brooks 30, Brooks to the 25, 20, Derek Brooks all the way, there it is, the dagger's in, we're going to win the Super Bowl.
Tom Brady signing with the Tampa Bay Bucs tomorrow. Holy hell.
Everyone always says, why the Bucs, man? Why do you choose the Bucs? And it was a no-brainer.
Brady has all kinds of time, throws toward the end zone. It is a caught ball. Touchdown, Tampa Bay, Mike Evans. 8 seconds, 7 seconds. Brady to throw, throws a deep pass downfield. Got Scotty Miller in the open, makes the catch. Touchdown, Tampa Bay.
Super Bowl 55 will be underway at Raymond James Stadium. Here's the snap out of the gun. Play action fake pass to Gronkowski. He's going to score a touchdown. Touchdown Tampa Bay. Holy guacamole. Bucs are the Super Bowl champs. They can't stop the clock. And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers from the 48-yard line. Second down, 13. Brady lobs one downfield. Caught ball by Gronkowski inside the 20 to the 15-10. Gronkowski to the 5 to the 4-yard line. Holy guacamole.
Here's the snap. Pressure coming from the outside. Brady throws it back. Caught ball first out of the 50. Outside the numbers 40 to the 30-yard line. To the 25. It's Perriman. Bashaud Perriman. Touchdown Tampa Bay. Bucs win in overtime.
This is the Big Nasty. Yeah, Big Nasty. Hall of Fame Tampa Bay Buccaneer fan, baby.
This is Mike Allstott, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and you're listening to the Cannon Fire Podcast.
Cannon Fire Podcast, brother. You ain't listening, and you're missing out. Woo!
And there the cannons go. Fire them. Keep on firing them. Keep on firing them.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Cannon Fire Podcast. Live on YouTube today. I am your host, as always, Rhett Matthew. Joined alongside me, my good buddy and co-host, the Philly Bucs fan himself, Mr. Evan Wanish of BucsNation.com. Joining us today, very special guest, friend of the pod, man. It's our buddy Mean Gene from Buck What You Heard. How we doing, fellas? It is WrestleMania week. Gene rocking the Austin 316. Pleasure to have you back on the pod, my man.
Man, I'm excited to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I love the show, man. I love what you guys are doing. Keeping the Bucs community together, man, and that's kind of what it's all about.
Oh yeah, and we have got some big news to talk about today, as you guys have heard. Not quite an emergency podcast. I think something that was definitely worthy of an emergency podcast, but it may have taken us a couple of hours to get around to it. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their head coach, Bruce Arians, after 3 seasons as Tampa Bay's head coach, 5 playoff wins in Tampa Bay, and a Super Bowl title, of course. Let's not forget 31-9 over the Kansas City Chiefs. No risk it, no biscuit himself. Mr. Bruce Arians has announced his retirement from coaching in the NFL. Now, what's interesting about this is that we put retirement, and then I guess you have to put a little asterisk next to the retirement, because as far as the 2022 season goes, Bruce Arians is still active inside Advent Health Training Center every single week. He is transitioning to a front office role. I believe there is a title for it that I can't remember off the top of my head, but he's like the senior consultant of football operations, something along those lines, right, Evan? Something very
Correct.
official.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. That's the kind of the title, which, he even said it himself. He doesn't even know what it means yet. So,
but
what's interesting, before Bruce Arians got here, a lot of Bucks fans were wanting that vice president or that go-between between the general manager and the head coach. And I think that's kind of what you have right now with Bruce Arians. I'm just guessing here. And again, we don't know what it is. I'm just speculating here. And you have a lot of conspiracy theories right now. And I'll touch on that a little bit later on in the show. But in my opinion, based on what you guys are talking about here, that's kind of what I'm seeing is that go-between. Between the head coach and the general manager.
Yeah, Bruce Arians finishes his Buccaneers career with a 31-18 record as our head coach, .633 winning percentage. That is the best in team history. Now, I hate to say the numbers are a little skewed because we're looking at 3 seasons, but that obviously translates to the success that this guy was able to have. 5 playoff wins, all of them with Tom Brady. Doesn't matter, man. No risk it, no biscuit. They were able to get it done. Super Bowl 55 championship. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, 5 playoff wins for BA. Before he got here, the team had 6 overall in our 40-some year history. So safe to say the Bruce Arians era is going to continue with new head coach Todd Bowles, which we'll talk about in a minute. But at this point, man, I know it wasn't expected because when the news hit, I looked down at my phone. I was actually driving. I wasn't going to be home for the next couple of hours. So 1, I was frustrated that we couldn't do a podcast. But 2, the timing felt a little bit weird, and Gene, I wanted to get your thoughts on this here in a second, but a lot of people are looking at this, especially a lot of people from the outside looking in, but Tom Brady just agreed to unretire. And you thought you had lost the GOAT. And, in the 40 days that Tom Brady's retired, we're kind of all under the assumption that Bruce Arians is here no matter what. Tom Brady comes back out of retirement. The Buccaneers are able to bring in all of these big name free agents, sign a couple of favorable deals. Everything is rolling in the right direction. And then BA makes his exit. I mean, the first ever head coach in Tampa Bay Buccaneers team history who was able to leave on his own terms. So not only was he able to write his own ending, but he's able to leave Todd Bowles one hell of a football team. But again, the timing does seem a little bit weird. So what were your initial thoughts to BA hanging up the headset?
We're talking about me, right? Okay. No, I'm good with it. I'm wondering, nobody, and this is something this is my philosophy. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. Always say that because if you look at where we were after Tom Brady retired, and we didn't know what deals were being worked on. We didn't know what free agents were going to be signed. You had a lot of people that were speculating out here. But again, nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. This may have been something that was in his mind to do, prior to Tom Brady retiring or whatever. We don't know, and I don't think we ever will know. So that's kind of the mindset that I have. And on top of that, I want to kind of, hopefully I'm going on a tangent too long, but the way I see this, there's nothing we can do about it, regardless of whether Tom Brady, because we hear these rumors that Tom Brady pushed him out and, or something happened. It doesn't matter. This is what happened. And I'm very happy with where the Bucs are, who the Bucs have as a head coach, who they have as an offensive coordinator, who they have as a quarterback. I'm good with where they are because I think this puts them still in a position to win games and potentially play for a Super Bowl. So I'm good with this. So when I heard the news, I was pleasantly surprised. I was more excited for what could potentially happen. And I think that's where I was. It wasn't like 2012, 2011, when you bring in Greg Schiano because the chip ship sailed and he went back to the college ranks. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like any of the other coaching changes that we've seen. It's basically you have a stacked squad, and I'm going to say stacked. A lot of people may disagree with me. You've got a stacked squad, and you're bringing in a head coach who we don't know what he would have done with a stacked squad, and we're getting ready to find out what he could do. And I believe that Todd Bowles is the right guy for the job. I've wanted him to be the guy if Bruce retired, and here we are. So let's go and let's see what they do.
Yeah, I think well, when I got the news, I was watching a TV show and I was in the middle of my fantasy baseball draft. So talk about kind of hectic situation there. But it was a surprise it happened when it did to me. But just like Gene said, and I think Rhett alluded to as well, it seemed like this day was always going to happen eventually. Like we knew that Bruce Arians wasn't going to coach for another, 3-4 years. Like we knew that. Yeah. It's not like, he had, I'm going to be coaching for this. Like we knew that this upcoming season or next season was likely the end. There was some talk that maybe even this season would have been the end. But, for it to happen at this point in the offseason, that was the surprise to me, that it happened this late after Brady had unretired. And when Arians was talking, like, it didn't sound like a guy who was planning to step down. Obviously, things can change. And just like Gene said, I'm a big proponent of that too. Like, you don't know what happens. Like, there's a lot of things. Just because you don't hear about it doesn't mean it's not happening. And there's also some stuff where if you do hear about it, that doesn't mean it's happening either. Like it's not a definite that it's happening, as we've seen plenty of times on social media. But it's good for Bruce Arians. He gets to go out on his terms. He's not fired. He gets to go out how he wanted to, and at the end of the day, he's helping his friend. And if Bruce Arians, and a lot of people may scoff at that. Oh, hire the best coach, not just your friend. If Bruce Arians didn't think Todd Bowles was qualified to be a head coach, Bruce Arians wouldn't even have had him on his staff. He wouldn't have put that much trust in Todd Bowles to run the entire defense. Todd Bowles was the defensive guy. Bruce Arians had really nothing to do with that. He wouldn't have had that trust in Todd Bowles. And clearly he thinks both Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich are head coach material. But it was Todd Bowles' time to get another shot. And honestly, I'm glad he has his quarterback his first season. And I'll finish this up, before I toss it back to Rhett. But his first season in New York was Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they went 10-6. They took a New York Jets team, went 10-6.
Hey, Buccaneers legend Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, that's right. Well, we're not done with the Buccaneers legends on this list.
We are not.
His second season, he had Ryan Fitzpatrick again. That one didn't go so well. 5-11. I think that was this offseason though, where Fitzpatrick was like all that controversy, like he didn't want to play for them anymore. So that was
there were a lot of injuries at that time too.
Yeah.
That's that.
And then 2017 again, 5-11. Todd Bowles' quarterbacks. Right on the list on the roster on Wikipedia, the final roster, there's two quarterbacks. One is Christian Hackenberg. The other is Bryce Petty. Those are the two quarterbacks listed. Now, I think Josh McCown was on that team as well.
Buccaneers legend, Josh
another
McCown.
Buccaneers legend, Josh McCown.
That's the original Big 12, right? For the people who know before Brady. Do you remember? Sorry, I know this is a little bit of an unnecessary sidebar here, but do you guys remember when the Bucs first got Brady and everybody was making jersey swaps and they didn't know that the Bucs were getting new uniforms, or I guess they did and they were too lazy. All you had to do was slap Tom Brady's face on Josh McCown. That man was the foundation for so many of the early TB12 jersey swaps. He is a Buccaneers franchise legend. 2-14 forever in my heart.
And then the 2018 roster, which was Todd Bowles' final year, they went 4-12. His three quarterbacks were Sam Darnold, who was a rookie, Josh McCown, and Davis Webb. Well, now he gets Tom Brady. So I think it's a slight upgrade. So I'm excited to see what Todd Bowles does with this opportunity.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that you look at is that, Todd Bowles, obviously those teams, they were pitiful when he was in New York. You had a winning chance with Ryan Fitzpatrick. You go 10-6, you barely miss the playoffs, and then it's all downhill from there. We know the rest. But what can this guy actually do with a roster? Bruce Arians is confident enough to leave the reins to him. We kind of knew that, succession was a big deal to him. And actually looking at BA's statement, people asked him, why do you not come back for another year? Tom Brady coming back out of retirement. This is a guy who was first in so many passing categories last season. Clearly, he's going to be able to run this offense even better than he has the last 2 years. So much consistency on this team. Keeping guys together has been the overall I guess, tone of this team the last 3 years. And we talk about 2022 kind of being the V2, the version 2.0 of the Tom Brady Buccaneers. But now with Todd Bowles as your head coach, it definitely is so. But
we have a super chat from $5 super chat from Charles W. Jansen.
Let's go. Clap it up for the boy. Thank you, Charles, for throwing it down. Let's go into the Wendy's fun.
How many coaches in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history have been made to walk the plank, fired? How many have advocated quit on their own accord?
This is an easy one.
Yeah. Well, fired. That's too many to count, probably.
Yeah.
That off the top of my head, but I mean, on their own accord, I mean, Arians and is that it?
That's it.
That's it. Arians, Bruce Arians is the first head coach in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history to leave on his own accord. It was also announced today at his exit press conference that he's going to be in the Ring of Honor this year. So your 2022 official Ring of Honor entrant, head coach Bruce Arians, no risk and no biscuit, baby. How do you guys feel about that? Because I saw a couple of people were grumpy that, maybe he cut some other guys in line who have been waiting on the Ring of Honor for a little bit, but as we know, the game of football, the NFL, is kind of a what have you done for me lately thing, and bringing a Super Bowl to Tampa Bay alongside Tom Brady and getting that job done, I feel like that's more than enough to get him into the Ring of Honor.
I would like to go first on that.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
A big thing for me, a big proponent for me is body of work. I don't care if it's a general manager, I don't care if it's a quarterback, wide receivers, whoever comes through these doors. Body of work compared, and you have a body of work, a sample size that you can compare to other players. It helps you determine, was this guy worthy of what he did? And the fact that Bruce Arians was a catalyst in getting Tom Brady here speaks volumes about the organization, speaks volumes about the general manager being able to get the key players in here that Tom Brady's like, wow, I can work with him. I can work with Mike Evans and work with Chris Godwin. And then getting Leonard Fournette and some of the other players that they were able to bring in here. Just what Bruce Arians being the catalyst of all of that, you have to, this is a no-brainer to put him in the Ring of Honor. I think the culture change, and again, I know that sounds cliche, but the culture change, we saw that with Tony Dungy. And I know you guys may be a little bit younger, you're definitely younger than me, but I can remember at the Big Sombrero, I can remember just like going through the motions, going to games. And then when you have Tony Dungy coming in, he changes the culture in the locker room. The fan base buys into this change, and it totally changes the Buccaneers for like 4 or 5 years to where they're going to playoffs. They're competitive. You've got this monster defense and all this other stuff. Fast forward to all the monstrosities that you saw with Bruce Allen and John Gruden, Mark Dominic and Raheem Morris, Mark Dominic and Greg Schiano, unfortunately, Jason Light and Lovie Smith, Jason Light and Dirk Cutter. You just saw all the inconsistencies, and then they finally right the ship when you get to Bruce Arians. I mean, you cannot deny what he's done for this organization. I can't say him by himself, but what he's brought to this organization. Let me put it that way. With the large coaching staff, the diverse coaching staff, with so many coaches that I see in the future, you're going to see head coaches, you're going to see assistant coaches in other parts of the league just from this Bruce Arians tree. So I really believe that what he's done, he's earned, even in a short period of time, he's earned the right to be in that Ring of Honor. And I will be at that game whenever, when that game happens. I want to be there to celebrate that, because we're very fortunate to have Jason Light working with Bruce Arians and in concert to build the team that they've built in the short period of time that they have. So I'm good with the move.
Yeah. And I kind of wanted to touch on, the people that are a little upset. Like, I get it, because he just retired, and there's been the guys that have been waiting, right? Like the two names that come to mind are Hardy Nickerson and James Wilder. Those are the two names that a lot of people bring up that should be in the Ring of Honor. Like, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be.
They will be. too.
Yeah, I think eventually. I think Nickerson will be.
I think Nickerson within the next five.
I
think Nickerson within the next 5 years is 100% at this point. It has to be.
And to answer your real quick, just to answer your question with James Wilder, if you saw real time what James Wilder had around him and what he was able to accomplish, it would make you appreciate what he was able to do in his time. So, I get what you're saying, but and I agree that Bruce should be here, but James Wilder is a guy that his name should be really close. James Wilder and Simeon Rice are two names that should be really close to being up there in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah. So, and I also think they wanted somebody. Arians was going in anyway. Like, whether he retired this year, retired next year, retired 2 years from now, like he's going in. So, he was going in at some point.
I wonder when he's gonna get a statue. I'd love to get, how they've got the OG Super Bowl team, the statue. I think it's inside $1 Place.
Yeah, it is.
They need to. They got to get a BA statue in there soon.
Well, and I think they wanted a coach to be up in the Ring of Honor just to replace Gruden's spot.
Yeah,
there's a big blank spot right now. So I think that was partially a reason because of it. So real quick in the chat, just got a question. Do the Bucs get a draft pick for hiring Todd Bowles? They do not. There's no comp picks here because Todd Bowles was an internal candidate. So you do not get anything for hiring an internal candidate of color. So you do not get anything there. And then Joel Enrican says, now that BA goes into the Ring of Honor, would y'all put Light up there after his time is done here? I mean, I think if Bruce Arians is there, I think I think Jason Light kind of has to be there, and I think he will be eventually. Sure.
Hey, Joel Elrican, by the way, one of our Smack Apparel giveaway winners over there on Twitter. Man, I thought I was gonna have to start sending him some some pigeon carriers or something because I couldn't get a hold of him. I sent him a message on multiple Twitter accounts. I'm like, hey, man, let me get your shirt size, your address. We'll send your stuff out. 2-3 days go by, but we were able to make contact. So hopefully you get your stuff soon, man. And thank you for all your support. Shout out to our friends at Smack Apparel. We had a ton of fun on that giveaway. Be on the lookout. We should have some more stuff coming soon. But let's get back into the legacy that Bruce Arians leaves behind as Tampa Bay.
Real quick, I wanted to get. Do you think Light's thing will be up there?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to stomp on your question there.
No.
Yeah, I think he will be.
Got the
I think obviously
$5 super chat from Richard.
Shouting out
some Wendy's money. Some Wendy's money, huh?
Let's go. Clap it up for the boy.
Let's go make more NFL history with Brady and our Bucs winning another Super Bowl with his third head coach in Bowles we trust. That's a good point. Brady Brady would win it with his third head coach.
Yeah, and I do want to jump in here on that question. I think it's a legitimate question. I've been a proponent of Rich McKay being in the Ring of Honor because you look at all the Hall of Famers that are there because he drafted well. But when you look at what Rich McKay did and when he left and went to Atlanta, Tampa was ruined because of no first round picks for several years. And there were a whole bunch of things and they were in salary cap. If I can say hell.
Yeah, go ahead.
Salary cap hell. Just because of the way they did things, and they pretty much sold the farm to get that Super Bowl back then. But then you fast forward and you look at what Jason Light did, a similar situation where when you look at Rich McKay had Sam Weish, and then from Sam Weish to Tony Dungy, and from Tony Dungy to John Gruden, and then they win the Super Bowl. And then you look at Jason Light. Jason Light came in after Lovie Smith. Then you've got Dirk Cutter. Then you bring in Bruce Arians, and then they win a Super Bowl. But the one thing that's really different is right after winning a Super Bowl, Jason Light was able to bring everybody back. And to top that showstopper from bringing everybody back, everybody is thinking, oh, man, it's doom and gloom when Tom Brady retires. But when Tom Brady comes back and you look at the moves that Jason Light has made for Bruce Arians or for the Bucs, I mean, you cannot deny that this man, as soon as the ink is dry and he's like, I'm done, he's a guy that should really be in consideration. He should cut the line on everybody else and be in the Ring of Honor as well for what he's accomplished in this short period of time. When you look at all the the years pass and all the ineptness that we've seen from other general managers, I mean, he is head and shoulders above the rest of them.
Yeah,
he made a roster that was good enough for the greatest quarterback of all time. Like he created a roster.
And he came in when the cupboard was bare when he came in.
Correct. Yeah. Like, I mean, literally from 2014, who's left? It's Mike Evans, Levante David, and William Golston. Like, that's it. Like, there's nobody else left. This is Jason Light's team. He's drafted it well. He's used free agency for what it's used for. You're not supposed to build a team through free agency. He's built the team through the draft, and he built it good enough to where Tom Brady looked at it and said, oh yeah, that's a roster that can win. And they went out and they did that. So yes, Jason Light does deserve to be on there, and eventually he will be. But the good news for Bucs fans is that Jason Light is not going anywhere anytime soon, as far as we know. So, it sounds like, he's going to be in Tampa for a long time. And, those good organizations, if you look at them, like the Saints, Mickey Loomis, he's been the Saints general manager for years. I mean, for years.
Kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, just the good organizations are able to draft well, kick the can down the road a little bit money-wise to have some flexibility, and they're able to retain like a lot of their guys, and they stay in the position. Good organizations, how they say aren't changing head coaches every 2-3 years. They're also not changing GMs every 3 or 4 years. Like, they're keeping the same guy, and hopefully, Light already is on that track. He's quietly in, I believe, was it 8th season as the GM. So it's been a quiet 8 years, but he will be in there eventually.
Everybody is obviously a critic. People have always had some negative things to say about Jason Light, his draft pick. I mean, let's look at the 2021 draft class.
Every general manager has misses.
Right. People are picking that apart, and this is going to be an incredibly crucial season for that. But as far as Jason Light goes, when we look at the body of work, as you alluded to, Evan, seems like he's going to be here for a while. With Tom Brady coming back, man, this guy already has a Super Bowl championship under his belt. He has an opportunity to go out there and get another one. If Tom Brady plays two more years, that's possibly a third one. Now, listen, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Obviously, we don't like to count our chickens, or what is it? Count your eggs before they hatch?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, something like that. But listen, if Jason Light, even if the Bucs make it to the Super Bowl and they don't win, I feel like that's enough to make this regime, Jason Light, his tenure here, this is the most successful regime in Bucs history. I mean, let's face it.
I would argue it already is. But
yeah, I think we're witnessing it in real time, and that's why it's one of those things. Like I said, people are going to say what they're going to say. People are going to criticize Jason Light. They're going to not like draft picks. They're going to not like the decisions that this front office makes. But the fact of the matter is, the past 2 seasons, the Bucs have put winning products on the field, and it looks like they're about to make a run at yet another championship in Tom Brady's 3rd season in Tampa Bay. But as we talk about people being critics and people kind of saying whatever they wanted to, I wanted to wrap up on Bruce Arians' legacy in Tampa Bay with this, man. Gene, I'm very curious to hear your take. I don't even know what to refer to this as. Yellow journalism is a thing that comes to mind, but
it's disgusting.
People talking. You guys know exactly what I mean. I mean, people literally just talking about Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We touched on it a little bit last week with JC Allen. Gene, I wanted to get your 2 cents on it. Maybe this is what you were talking about ranting on before this show started. But the national media is really going out of their way to do everything they can to just discredit Bruce Arians, his legacy in Tampa Bay, and drive this narrative that Tom Brady is the sole reason Bruce Arians retired the way that he did.
Yeah, it's disgusting, to be very honest. And I wish there was some level of accountability. There was a time where journalism was good and people were unbiased, and they talked about the news. This is what happened. And it would and again, this is somebody, I know a lot of people may not like him, but I love Greg Allman. Greg Allman is unbiased. Had him on Buck What You Heard. We talked about it. I was like, who's your favorite team? Oh, I don't have one. I was like, wow. So when he talks about news, football related news, or whatever he reports on, he's unbiased. This is basically, he's giving you, it's a glimpse into the past that we just haven't seen. And kind of where I'm going with this is now the national media expects to be respected, regardless of what they say or what they put out there, what content they put out there. If it's right, if it's wrong, if it's slanted, it doesn't matter. They expect to be respected. And I think respect is earned. And this is the problem that I have. There are organizations out there, there are sites out there that put out stuff, just, recklessly put out stuff that's not true, and they expect to be respected. No, you cannot. You earn that. You earn that by putting out quality journalism. You earn that by putting out quality stories. If you have facts, yeah, you go to your facts. And there are journalists out there that I may not get along with, but they've gone with their facts. They've gone with what they found to be sound reporting, and it's turned out to be they were right. But then you have other ones that and I think this is where we need to get back to as a fan base. Not giving people that energy, or following them, or clickbaits, or don't click on this if it's not true. And they've continuously done this. There's an organization out there. They're known Buck haters, known. And you go back and look at their body of work. I've used the term body of work again. And all I've got to do is tell you there's an entity out there. I'm not going to put their name because they don't deserve it. And they've just repeatedly put out stories about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are not true, and they've gotten away with it. Nobody's called them out on it until today at the end of a press conference. But I'm not going to go, I'll let you, I'm not going to steal your thunder, bro. But I'm just saying, fans, you have power. You have so much power that you can say, okay, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. I'm going to block you. I'm going to mute you. If I'm on Twitter, I'm going to mute you. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm not going to your site. Less traffic that these guys get, the better off the fan base is. But when you're like outraged by what somebody says and you're going to their site, that's what they want you to do. You're getting drawn into that. All I'm saying, fans, if you're a Bucs fan and there's somebody out there that's egregiously attacking your fan or attacking your team, whether it's the Rays, the Lightning, or even the Bucs, your duty is to just walk away from that, stay away from them, and don't click on what they're doing, and they will eventually go away. They will feel the pain by the number of people that are not going to their site.
It's funny. I believe this is the same publication that had posted an article about Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles, and the picture that they had used, I think they assumed that it was a picture of Todd Bowles when it clearly was not, and more than a few people, especially some former Buccaneers content creators, called them out for it. So yeah, we won't mention it by name, but folks, if you've been following along, go ahead.
No, they don't deserve it. And
no, definitely not.
I love the term yellow journalism. And if you don't know what that is, Google the term yellow journalism. We're seeing so much of that nowadays, even outside of sports, but just in general. And we need to rein this in. Fans, you have the power to do this. We need to rein this in, and just these people need to be held accountable.
$10 super chat from our buddy Charles Jansen. He said, did anybody watch the Rich Eisen podcast today with Jason Light? Rich does the job the right way. Most MSM is trying to create stories that are not there. Doing so, they become the story for clicks. And I did not watch that, but I'm actually a really big fan of the Rich Eisen show. It's honestly a toss-up. When I'm at work during the week, I'm either listening to McAfee or Rich Eisen show that day, because those are guys that do it right. McAfee knows how to play the game to get clicks, but like Pat McAfee isn't going to lie to you and be deceitful and talk about something that he doesn't know. And that's why that guy is so respected in the industry, because he is not artificial. And I mean, it's even that much bigger of a deal because he is the former athlete that he is. Not a lot of those guys who used to play, like, yeah, you can go and get a job as a content creator or an analyst or whatever. But the level that he's gotten to, man, with his brand, with his show, I mean, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked here, man crushing over Pat McAfee, but like that's the man right there. But thank you, Charles, for your super chat, dude. I really appreciate it, and I will definitely make sure to check that out.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating to me because, Bucs fans, I know they're trying to do the right thing, and Bucs fans are like, oh, did you see what this guy said? No, I'm not going to click on that. I'm not helping them. I refuse to help them. And I mean, if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I went so far as to add them in NBC, who I don't know why NBC doesn't upgrade on who they use, but NBC needs to really do better. Just even being affiliated with these guys, and something needs to change.
So let's talk about the dawn of a new era in Tampa Bay Buccaneers football. We talked about the legacy that Bruce Arians left behind, and of course, everything that he meant to this franchise. And in a way, you know, the Bruce Arians era is going to live on through Todd Bowles, which I'm excited about. But let's talk about the Todd Bowles era. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, their new head coach, former defensive coordinator, the man with the plan, 31-9 in the Super Bowl against the Kansas City Chiefs. Everybody will remember that as he immortalized in Bucs history. He now becomes the team's next head coach. And Tom Brady's third head coach overall. Very interested to see how things shake out. I know we touched on it a lot at the beginning of the show, but I wanted to kind of pick up where we left off. I'm curious to see what happens with this football team. So we know that Todd Bowles is our new head coach. As far as the defensive coordinator position goes, we have co-defensive coordinators. So it looks like inside linebackers coach Larry Foote and defensive coordinator Casey Rogers are co-defensive coordinators now. And I actually want to get your take on that really quickly, Evan. There's not another team in the league that has this right now that we know of, right? This is pretty interesting.
No, but I also think it's being kind of overblown. Todd Bowles is still calling the plays. Like, that's not going to change. So it's more so a title more than anything. Maybe those guys' responsibilities increase a tad, but like, I just think the Bucs didn't want to throw, Larry. There was rumors that if Todd Bowles were to leave for a head coaching job in the offseason, that Larry Foote would have been the Bucs' preference to be defensive coordinator. As we get another $6 super chat from Charles, who remembers when Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen first came up with ESPN. This is a day when ESPN was respectable. Bowles will do great. Obviously,
rest in peace, Stuart Scott. Thank you again for your donation to the Wendy's Fund, Charles. Let's clap it up for the boy.
That's right.
Backing up the Brinks truck today. We truly appreciate your support, man. And I'll tell you, I didn't see a lot of the Rich Eisen ones, but all those Stuart Scott, the This Is Sports Center commercials, all the Back in the Office, there's so many of those that are just instant classics. Make sure you guys go check them out. There are plenty right here on YouTube. Sorry, Evan, I didn't mean to cut you off, but shout out to Charles. Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, the Bucs really like both. So Larry Foote is really somebody who the Bucs have liked for a while. Like I said, they wanted to make him the defensive coordinator if Bowles were to leave. And as far as Casey Rogers was Todd Bowles' defensive coordinator in New York when Bowles was the head coach. So Rogers has done it before. Larry Foote has not. So I think this is a way of sort of getting Larry Foote's feet wet a little bit. And we'll have to see. It's all about creating opportunities, right? And that's what Bruce Arians really tried to instill in this coaching staff. Just like Gene said, with a diverse staff, such a large staff, like that's what happens. You're trying to create as many opportunities. He was legit angry that after the Super Bowl, Byron Leftwich didn't get a single interview, like not even an interview. Like he was mad about that because he felt that he deserved it, and he did. And I think Byron Leftwich deserved the Jacksonville job this past season, and he didn't get it, and it sucks. Obviously it sucks for him, but it's a good thing for the Bucs. And you know what, he'll be a head coach sooner rather than later. I probably next season he'll probably be a head coach, but it's just this co-defensive coordinator thing. It's interesting, but it's just the title. Like it's just, and I just wanted to clear up that Bowles were to be calling plays, because there was a few people that had asked me, they were kind of worried that Bowles wouldn't call plays because, they just watched Bruce Arians be the head coach, and Bruce Arians didn't call plays on offense, and he was considered this offensive guru. But Todd Bowles confirmed today, which was basically assumed, but he confirmed today that he will continue to call the plays.
Yeah, I do want to kind of piggyback off what you guys were talking about here. I'm like, again, I use the word optimistic because I look at what Todd Bowles did his first year with the Jets. I honestly believe that the GM there is inept, the idiot. I think I'm just glad. I mean, if Bucs fans should be fortunate, we don't have somebody like that. We did have somebody like that for two different regimes, but in this case, we have somebody that is, I feel like, learned on the job, and they are qualified to be a general manager. So we're fortunate in that aspect. As far as the defensive coordinator position, I love Larry Foote. There are some players in the NFL, you look at them and you think in the back of your head, man, he would make a good head coach. He would make a good the coordinator or even a coach. I mean, example, you look at Richard Sherman. You look at what Richard Sherman did in his tenure with the Bucs, even though he was injured, just providing those little gems of knowledge to help the secondary, it's huge. It goes so long. It goes a long way. And, they could go to another team and they could take that with them and really help them progress in their career in the NFL. So, when I look at somebody like a Larry Foote, and if you got a chance to watch him play, you appreciated his play, but you look at a guy who was cerebral and in, how he was breaking down an offense or, what his position was and, doing what he needed to do. So I think that, in the long run, just based on my experience watching him as a player and the fact that he's on this staff, it tells me that he has a really good opportunity to advance and progress to be a coach or a coordinator in a greater capacity. And I think this is a great start for him. And I think it doesn't matter who is the main guy or who's below. I think they're going to work together and it will work to our advantage. Again, right now, as a Bucs fan, I'm more of a Bucs fan and I'm optimistic because of what Bruce Arians has left behind for this organization, for the fan base to really get behind. So I'm 100% behind the moves that have been made, and I can't wait to see how it all shakes out.
It's that kind of that behind closed doors thing, like you talked about, especially with Richard Sherman. A lot of people, don't really understand the value of having a player who not only is a veteran player, but Sherman's always been, he played football at Stanford. Yeah. Like Sherman's always been considered like a smart football player. And the value of having that is very important. And I think the value of having former football players is important on your coaching staff. Obviously they have a ton of them.
It kind of depends on who it is.
Yeah, correct.
Sure. Yeah. Because you look at some guys and you're like case in point in a different sport, you look at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan to me is a horrible general manager. I wouldn't want that guy general managing.
Right. Just because you're a player doesn't automatically mean you'll be successful.
In the NHL, we're about to see how good of a head coach Martin St. Louis can be.
Right. Who is the other the great one? The great one.
Help me. Are you talking about Wayne Gretzky?
Gretzky.
Oh,
when Gretzky was a coach in Phoenix, he coached the Coyotes. They were horrible. They were not good.
Patrick Waugh, one of the greatest goaltenders of all time. He also was terrible. So just because you played the game at a high level doesn't. And everybody says, "Oh, Brady would be a great head coach." You don't know. It all depends on the player. It all depends on the player. But it seems like the Bucs have the right mix here, right? Byron Leftwich, a former player, Larry Foote, a former player, even Todd Bowles. He didn't do much in the NFL, but we have 2 super chats.
Right.
The first one is from Steven, $5 super chat, $4.99.
Blasker, what's up, brother?
Appreciate it. One of Gene's guys
says,
what's
ahead. Up, guys? Great seeing Gene on the show. Y'all do an awesome job. Here's a good question, and I know we touched on it a little bit, but this one's a little more specific. With Bruce Arians going in the Ring of Honor, should Tom Brady go in regardless of a second Super Bowl? So let's say Tom Brady comes back. He's got to handle some unfinished business. And maybe that business stays unhandled until the end of his career, right? Like, let's say, unfortunately, he gives it 2 more tries. The Buccaneers don't get to the promised land. Maybe they win the division, whatever. And all of that fizzles out. Is he still going to the Bucs Ring of Honor for what he was able to do in his first season here in the Red and Pewter? And that's you didn't even let me finish the question, but that's obviously my reaction as well. It has to be a hard yes because this is our phrase of the day here on the Cannon Fire podcast, but you look at the body of work.
That actually should have been the title of this episode.
Right, yeah. You look at the body of work. You look at his level of production. Hey, in 2022.
I want to make this real simple for you.
Yeah.
You look at the Buccaneers fan base when he retired. That's all you need to know. That is all you need to know about this man to know that he belongs in the Ring of Honor.
Well, let's take a look at what he's done. Let's take a look at what he's done on the field as well. Sorry, Gene, I didn't mean to step on you there.
Oh, you're good.
But something else that I wanted to point out, and we talked about this plenty on the show here over the last month or so, but This guy is 25 touchdowns away from throwing the most touchdowns in Tampa Bay Buccaneers history. Jameis Winston is at 121. Tom Brady is at 96. He did that in 2 seasons. He did that in 2 seasons, folks. So the fact that he's going to be in the Bucs record books for a very long time, and he's about to make it happen in what looks like 3 seasons or more. I mean, that's just insane. So yeah, that's a hard yes on that one. Thank you, Steven, once again for your super chat and the question. Let's double down and fire the cannons for our buddy Charles once again with the $5.50 towards the Wendy's fund. He says, what about Sean Murphy Bunting? He was coaching up Mike Edwards, went out last year, and then Mike got 2 picks against New England. He could be a coach one day. I haven't looked at SMB in that capacity, only because he is as young as he is, but this is a guy who missed half of the season with an injury this year, but a little bit more than that, so he probably did have enough time to walk around and give out some handshakes and some solid advice on the sideline, but I think the difference between SMB and a guy like Richard Sherman, I think SMB doesn't get enough credit for the way he played in that playoff run in 2020, but Sherman, SMB, they both have their Super Bowl, but
they're different.
Sure, they're different players, and I mean the legacy that they're going to leave behind. If SMB retires tomorrow, nobody's going to remember him. Unfortunately,
yeah, we don't know Sean
Richard
legacy,
Sherman. There was a point where Richard Sherman was the best corner in the game. That's the result you're going to get if you try him with a sorry receiver like Crabtree. That's the result you're going to get. That all ties into the legacy that is Richard Sherman. And, I don't think there's going to be another Richard Sherman. As far as SMB goes, I don't get that impression, but it's just because of how young he is. But, I don't know. Do either of you guys see any of that for him in the future?
I don't know. For me, when I think of Richard Sherman, I think of somebody like Aqib Talib. I can realistically put him in the same sentence. I know people may disagree with me, but those are guys that you put your best wide receiver on these guys, and they're in for a long day. Sean Murphy Bunting, still a little bit of inconsistency, and with injuries, we haven't seen that full product. We've seen a sample size, and yeah, I know that how he played in the Super Bowl, but getting some consistency. What you saw with Richard Sherman in Seattle or San Francisco. You saw some semblance of consistency. So you could back up what you're saying. Aqib Talib going to New England and then going to, I think he went to Denver, and just, wherever he was at, he was consistent. So with Sean Murphy Bunting, I think it's too early to tell, but I like the trajectory he's on right now, and I'll put it that way.
Yeah. So real quick, before we begin to wrap up, I want to get this point out before I forget. So we talked about the media, right? We talked about how the media sort of frames these things, and one thing comes out and everybody runs with it, right? We've already discussed. We discussed on the last week's show with JC Allen from Pewter Report about apparently future Miami Dolphins quarterback Tom Brady. And obviously, here's the bone.
You mean the Niners? Excuse me, the 49ers.
Yeah, well, he's actually, Gene. He's actually playing half the season with the 49ers and half of it with the Dolphins.
I think actually, this is just what I heard. This is from my sources, and obviously, my sources are not the same as everybody else. But I heard he actually wants to be the first active player and owner in NFL history.
He actually aims to be like Jackie Moon, the player, coach, general manager, all of it. He's going to introduce himself at the games. He's going to be doing the halftime shows. It'll be a blast.
He's going to be fighting a bear.
Yes. So he's going to be fighting Captain Fear on the pirate ship.
We lost the bear.
With the real sword, of course.
Oh my god! And then he's gonna actually, as for a pirate theme, he's actually going to be shot out of a cannon, and try to clear a bunch of cars at midfield. So your entertainment host. So I had heard that he was playing. There's 17 games, so I had heard 8 with the Niners, 8 with the Dolphins, and he's going to throw the Bucs. One game just for old time's sake.
Make it to the playoffs, he'll just pick up with him in the playoffs.
So the bone I have to pick is people go, well, Tom Brady wants to go to Miami. He's going to Miami because of the riff with Bruce Arians. Okay. So I don't believe there's much of a rift yet again, just like Gene said, though. Closed doors, we don't know, right? I don't believe there is. You notice how the local media, who is the most tied in, haven't really said anything about that, right? It's all been the national media. And, oh, there's a rift between Brady and Arians. So when this news comes out and Bruce Arians, steps down, Todd Bowles, the head coach, everybody goes, this means Brady's going to Miami. So why would, if the reason Brady is going to Miami is because of the rift with Bruce Arians, how does Bruce Arians stepping down and not being the head coach anymore automatically mean that Tom Brady is going to the Dolphins? Like, it's just, they're searching for something that's not there.
Because he's still within one bug. That's why.
Yeah, it's and also I had talked to somebody earlier.
He didn't like the way that Antonio Brown was handled, and so he's upset about that too.
Are you talking about that one guy who is refusing to get surgery on his ankle until a team signs him?
Yeah, there's and his ankle, he had to play on that bad ankle that he was dancing on. But that guy.
So it's just it's silly. And and you know what, actually, guys, Tom Brady hates Bruce Arians so much that Bruce Arians stepped down, but he's still going to be about 90 feet away, just in a different office in the room. Like, he hates it so much that they were like, you know what? I can't have his office next to mine. He needs to go. Like, he needs to get over to the other side. Okay. I'm not going to be in the same break room as him. Okay. We're not going to be by the water cooler. Right. We're not going to be by any of that. It's just, it is so silly. And I just think at this point, and normally I'm not the type of guy like, oh, the league's against this, the league's against that. I just think not necessarily the league. I think the national media just wants Brady in a bigger market, like, so bad, or what they perceive to be a bigger market, because Tampa's gotten bigger now. The Bucs were Super Bowl champion. The Rays are consistently one of the best teams of baseball, even though, they have their own issues with, the stadium and everything, and they haven't won yet. But the Lightning are back-to-back. The Lightning are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions.
Tampa is a hockey town.
Like it's becoming a big time sports town,
well,
right?
Even as a media market,
it's becoming bigger.
Right. I went to Tampa has been a top 20 media market in the U.S. for probably the last 5 to 7 years, I think.
Nobody realized it.
Right out of high school in 2018 or 2017, I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting. We learned all about the market numbers and all of that stuff, where Tampa ranks as far as everybody else. And at that time, I believe it was sitting at 19. Last I checked, it's like close to cracking the top 10. And that's a really big deal when you talk about not only the progress of the last 5 years, but when number 1 and number 2 market in the entire country is New York and Los Angeles, like that's a really big deal. And then on top of that, you look at everything happening economically for Tampa Bay, the price of housing is going up, the amount of people that are moving here, the amount of money that is being invested into Tampa Bay. I mean, it is just ridiculous, the boom that this city is right in the middle of. And the fact that Tom Brady came here when he did, I think accelerated everything a little bit more.
Well, no, and here's my thing, though. I just think the media, the NFL media, national media wants him in what they perceive to be a bigger market. They want him to be in Miami. They want him to be in San Francisco. Like, they don't want him to be in Tampa Bay anymore because they don't believe, the Bucs. Like, they don't believe that it's a big enough market.
Let's face it, for, 40 out of the 45 years of this team's existence, the Tampa Bay football market has been a joke. Like, let's face it. There was a time where, before Bruce Arians came to Tampa, in between John Gruden, his last season here, and whenever the Bucs were able to make it happen with BA and signing, everybody was begging for a culture change. Everybody was begging for a reason to get invested in this football team again. And that's what you have seen happen over the last 3 years. I mean, let me just ask an honest question, and we'll start to wrap things up after this. But if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers make the playoffs with Jameis Winston, let's say the year that they go 8-5, they finish that year 10-6, right? Hypothetically, it's a great season. They make the postseason. They're playing in the wild card weekend. the Buccaneers have one of their drive-through swag events that they typically have come playoff year. They've had them the past couple of years. It's a drive-through event. You can go in there, see a bunch of cheerleaders, get your swag, and then keep it rolling. They run out of stuff to give out at those events these past few years. If the Bucs make the playoffs with Jameis Winston, I mean, how many people are showing up?
No, I think a lot. You don't really that would have been the first time they made the playoffs in 2007.
It would have been a huge deal.
I don't think it would have mattered.
It would have been an absolutely huge deal, but I don't know if it would have been that big of a deal to anybody outside the city of Tampa. Like, people are driving
Which is
from
who you're trying
Lakeland.
to appeal to anyway.
People are driving from Lakeland. People are driving from Sarasota to go get free crap from the Bucs that, you know, they just have in the promo closet most of the year.
I know you're looking at two totally different eras. Keep in mind, Sean King was the starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they were going to the playoffs. People were going to playoff games. People were attending events.
Oh, you're right.
And so I think,
and every single, even regular season games, every single one was sold out.
And winning covers a multitude of sins. I will say that.
Yeah.
So if you have Jameis Winston, let's hypothetical, like you're saying, is winning. He's winning games. You're putting butts in the seats. You're viable now.
You maybe even put even more butts in the seats because of the FSU connection.
Yeah, and there you go. Those maniacs over there, and everybody just kind of comes together. Hopefully, I didn't offend anybody. I was just joking.
No, get all of them, Gene. It makes sure we're taking no prisoners tonight.
Because if truth be told, full disclosure, I hate Florida State. Because of Derwin James and Dalvin Cook. They've totally turned me. I made the total heel turn on Florida State, and I am a heel when it comes to Florida State. But anyway. Shout
out to Charles throwing it down once again. $5.05 on the super chat. Clap it up for the boy. Thank you for your support.
We're gonna be rolling in burgers tonight.
I know, man. The Wendy's fun popping off. Charles says the media thinks the Bucs and Tampa do not deserve to be up. They think we should go back to being the laughingstock again. They are simply jealous at this point. Great point, Charles.
No, Mike Florio.
Yeah.
I mentioned his name. Sorry. I let slipped out.
We'll censor it on the post production and put a bleep there.
Put a beep in there for me. Thank you. I appreciate that. But anyway, I've totally lost my train of thought. But I do want to end with this. And fans, we need to come together. We need to be a collective unit. We all want the same thing. We want to see the Bucs go to the Super Bowl like they did in 2020. And people that are trashing your team or bashing your team or putting out all these stories out there, ignore them. Don't go to their sites. Don't give them traffic. We need to really focus on the people like the podcasters like yourself, and so many other ones out there that are invested in the team. These are the people we need to be invested in, to be honest. We need to see more of the Charles Jansons, the Steve Glaskers, and people like that are, invested in the team. And they want to do something like that, because you guys do a great job and you guys have great content. So, folks, if you get a chance, like and subscribe, especially Cannon Fire. I'm sure everybody that already is already doing it, but you're new, you just kind of happen upon this show, great content, and, they continue to do it and they've consistently done it. So let's support these guys. Let's support the podcasters that are out there, and let's, kind of try to unite the fan base.
Oh, yeah. I second that 100%. Firstly, thank you, Gene, so much. But yeah, folks, I mean, just listen local. It's one of those things that even when the Bucs were the bad team, we were still blessed with an abundance of fan-created content. And obviously, some guys have come and gone over the years, but, make sure you guys check out Gene. Buck what you heard. Gene is an OG of the content creation community. I mean, Gene, frankly, I don't think you get enough respect for the podcast that you do. You and Bucks Barrett holding it down over there, bro. But, seriously, make sure you guys check them out here on YouTube. Plenty of great Red and Pewter opinions. And to me, I hold so much more value in an opinion, whether it's breaking news or it's simply an opinion. I hold so much more value to what's being said when I know for a fact that the person talking about it, they don't necessarily have to have an emotional connection, because I know we talked about Greg Allman and he's not waving the red flag for this team every Sunday, but I do like to hear the opinions of people who are waving the red flags, who are going to games, who are experiencing firsthand everything that is happening in one of the craziest off seasons in Buccaneers history. everybody who's experiencing it real time like we are locally in this area. Well, I mean, Gene, I know you're not technically local to this area, but you're still producing local content. I mean, that's what it's all about, folks. And I think that's where you can get some of the best and the most well-informed opinions that Bucks content can offer.
It is where I'm from, so yeah, it kind of counts that way. Oh, Ryan Griffin, by the way.
Yeah, hey, our buddy Griffin Greatness, he has been chomping.
He's been in the live stream, so
yeah, he's a trooper, man. Griffin Greatness is one of those guys where he's been watching our podcast for a very long time too. So shout out to another OG there in the live chat. But we do have some free agency news that I guess we should close things out on. One of the biggest moves of the offseason, the Buccaneers have re-signed their longest tenured quarterback
8 seasons
in team history. Ryan Griffin, Mr. August, is coming back for his 8th season in the red and pewter. It's Ryan Griffin. Woo!
Yeah, whatever. I mean, you know what Ryan Griffin is at this point. So, but he's a camp arm. He'll probably end up on the practice squad, I would guess. We'll see. Obviously, Blaine Gabbard's still out there.
Does Blaine Gabbard come back?
I think so. I still think so.
So
I think it might be after the draft, but I think he comes back.
Okay, so let's say Bucks carry 4 QBs into the year. Ryan Griffin
it'd be Ryan Griffin on the practice squad.
Yeah, so. I was gonna say, so Ryan Griffin is your practice squad guy yet again, and then of course Kyle Trask and Blaine Griffin Blaine Gabbard. Yeah. Yeah,
it's time to end the show, folks.
Yeah, it's about that time. Ladies and gentlemen, very, very big thank you to our guy Gene from Buck What You Heard. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. It is always good talking shop with you. Anything about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, bro. Say what you got to say. Final thoughts here as we wrap things up.
I'm working on a contest right now. If you're following me on Twitter, please hit me up. I want to know who you guys believe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to face in Germany. First right answer. If you DM me with the right answer, there is a Smack Apparel t-shirt. I will get that mailed out to you with the correct answer. First person. And, once we get the schedule out there, there is time to do this. Just DM me the answer and, it's fair. Emily Campo will tell you will get a shirt. I promise. So, we'll make that happen. We gotta support locally. If you get a chance, smackapparel.com. Be sure to check them out. They ride with our Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Lightning and the Rays. So definitely, if you want that smack talking shirt and you want to be able to wear it, when you go out of town or whatever, they're definitely the spot to hit up.
I was about to ask, you said correct answer. Do you know something we don't about the?
No, I'm just kind of waiting, man.
No, yeah, he's gonna have people guess, and then once the schedule comes out,
I want people to guess and see who they get. I mean, for me, I know it's Kansas City personally. Just I know this, but in my mind, I know this, and the voices in my mind have agreed with me. So we all believe that it's going to be Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what. I mean, we talked about it on the show a couple of weeks ago. I'm still under the impression I think it could be Kansas City. Here's the thing about KC, though, is that they're obviously the other NFL franchise that is signed on to play a game in Germany, but it could not be this season. It could be 2023, could be 2025.
Well, that's a registered home game, though.
Right.
That's what that means.
Oh, okay. Never mind. So forget what I was even saying. It really is time to end the podcast. Good Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out this episode of the Cannon Fire podcast. It has been a ton of fun bringing it to you. Check out the show on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. All of those are Cannon Fire podcast. Best place to go for updates on the show. And of course, Buccaneer news as it happens. Speaking of Bucs news as it happens, you can follow my co-host Evan on Instagram at Bucs_daily, the #1 Buccaneers fan page on Instagram. You can also find him on Twitter at EvanNFL.
Well, I might be tweeting about WrestleMania if I'm displeased. Enjoy WrestleMania, but you might see some tweets about it.
I don't know if we're going to be talking to you guys between now and WrestleMania, but yeah, baby, it is WrestleMania week. And listen, I know that football and wrestling crossover doesn't happen very often, but I feel like when it's WrestleMania, it's the granddaddy of them all, baby. I feel like this is worthy of a mention.
Yeah, I'm excited. 2 nights. Saturday night, I'm a North Carolina basketball fan, so it's gonna be tough for me. With the big game. I'm excited. I hope people might not know what we're talking about. Gene, representing the Austin 316. Obviously, Stone Cold's gonna be there.
What?
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 And I'm hoping to see, like rumors about Cody Rhodes, or I'm excited to see a lot of the matches. We talked about McAfee earlier; he's going to be in a match, so it'll be a lot of fun. And like you said, we don't really get to talk a lot of wrestling on this show, but we're all pretty big wrestling fans. I know Gene's been a wrestling fan for a long time, so always nice to talk a little bit.
Oh yeah, guys, it has been a lot of fun. Let me think. Sometimes these closing segments are hard.
I screwed that up. I interrupted you after you plugged my Twitter.
Oh, okay. So we left off on your Twitter. You guys can follow us on social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you have not already. Check out Evan's written work, by the way, over at bucksnation.com. Should be coming out with stuff once a week, usually.
Yeah, once or twice a week. I have I just put out a draft profile, bucksnation.com. We do our draft profile series, and the person that I profiled was Chad Muma, linebacker from Wyoming. So it could be an option for the Bucks on day 2. So go check that out right now on bucksnation.com.
Our buddy Eric Simmons in the chat is I mean, they're playing us off, man. We really got to get out of here. Last but not least, you can find myself Instagram and Twitter at Rhettakus, RHETTAKUS. If you follow me, I will follow you back. That's the show, folks. For real this time, I promise. Thanks once again to our buddy Gene. Go check him out at Buck What You Heard right here on YouTube.com. And follow us on social media. I am your host, Rhett Matthew. Joined along, good Lord, words are hard. I am so tired. I am your host, Rhett Matthew. Signing off for my co-host, Evan Wanish, and our very special guest, Gene from Buck What You Heard. We'll talk to you in the next one. Until then, and as always, go Bucks.